Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Well, Elon Musk is now the richest person on the planet.
More than half the satellites in space are owned and controlled by one man.
Well, he's a legitimate super genius. I mean, legitimate.
He says he's always voted for Democrats, but this year it will be different. He'll vote Republican.
There is a reason the U.S. government is so reliant on him.
Elon Musk is a scam artist, and he's done nothing.
Anything he does is fascinating to people.
Welcome to Elon Inc., Bloomberg's weekly podcast about Elon Musk. It's Tuesday, December 16th. I'm your host, David Papadopoulos. This week, there's a chill in the air. Well, it's been drafty for a while, actually, but it's absolutely ice cold right now between Sam Altman and Elon Musk as their feud enters the digging up old emails and posting them on the internet phase. We'll examine what AI has put out there about Musk and then take a deeper look at Donald Trump's NASA pick, Jared Isacman, and what his long-standing relationship with Elon could mean for SpaceX. Joining me are our stalwarts, Dana Hull and Max Chafkin. Dana, hello.
Hey.
Max.
David, every time you say the NASA, I think you're going to mention the county executive of Nassau County rather than the administrator.
One of these days, I'm going to get the pronunciation right. Say it for me, Max.
NASA.
Nassau
is next to Suffolk.
Which is what, these are all my...
Never change.
These are all my favorite counties. And then later on, Lauren Grush, our space reporter, will talk to us about the Jared Isacman selection. Oh, and then, wait, Elon's also building a preschool for kids in Texas. A little on that at the end from Dana, and maybe, time permitting, a little mail from the Mailbag. We start with OpenAI and the spat that is now building rapidly with Musk. And, you know, Max, the other day I read that Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI, said that he was, quote, tremendously sad about the feud with Elon. And, you know, I'm sure he is. It can't be cool to be in this bruising battle with an old pal of yours. But, you know, for us here, lovers of feuds,
there are so many good feuds going on right now. There's Elon and Gary Gensler. There's Elon and the post office. And then there's this one, like you said.
This one, all of a sudden, out of the blue of sorts, has become such a fevered pitch that it not only is appearing on the show, but is appearing as our lead segment. So, Max, when this trove of messages was revealed the other day by OpenAI, what exactly did they show?
The messages show what OpenAI and Sam Altman have contended all along, which is that Elon Musk's complaints, and just to remind people, the complaint is that Elon Musk funded this not-for-profit with the idea that he was going to, help the world stave off AI apocalypse. And Sam Altman and his colleagues essentially took the money and turned it into a for-profit company, cutting out one Elon Musk. And what the emails show is that at various times, according to the emails that have been released, and I think you need to be a little bit careful when you're talking about this stuff because obviously this can be selective. We're not seeing Elon.
Not that the emails are bogus, but that you're
seeing a selection of emails that they found and they put up on a website. Right. We are not seeing the product of discovery. I'm sure if Elon Musk went through his emails...
so we're not seeing these through court documents?
No, this is just OpenAI is responding in a public. And assumedly, they've already responded in court at various times. Elon Musk has refiled the suit, so one assumes...
Can I interrupt for a second here? How common is it when you've got a legal spat in court going on that you are also doing this publicly in this way?
It happens. I mean, as you know, like a lot of times when companies sue each other, it is partly a negotiation. And of course, there are different ways, you're negotiating for money essentially over whatever was taken from you. And companies will try to negotiate in court. There's a strategy where you don't talk to the press at all. You let the court filings speak for themselves. But there's also, of course, a strategy where you brief the press at every turn. I mean, we've all seen sort of TV lawyers and OpenAI and Elon Musk to some extent are following the latter strategy. Elon is filing these lawsuits, but he's also tweeting about them. Narrative. He's giving Sam Altman a nickname. Swindly Sam is the nickname he's applied.
Stick? You like it?
I've said it a few times, but I think I just mostly find it amusing that Elon Musk has adopted the Trump affectation of giving people demeaning nicknames. So I just see it as more of that evolution. But anyway, the emails show or seem to show that Elon Musk, first of all, was supportive of the idea of making it a for-profit company because they were all worried that, according to the emails again, that they were not going to have enough money to build these massive computing clusters. And secondly, they show that Elon Musk had a very real fixation. This will not come as a surprise to listeners of the show, a very real fixation on control, on owning a lot of this eventually very valuable company, and also being able to control it, and also naming himself CEO. And when he was thwarted there, he tried to kind of merge it with Tesla. Now, again, this is the OpenAI story. I think we have to assume that the story could be more complicated than these emails, but that's what the emails show.
To Max's point, there's court, and then there's the court of public opinion. Right. And I think that OpenAI has taken the tack of, as we're responding in court, let's also respond publicly on our blog. And they're putting out these blogs where they're like, here's the latest. And I think that that's very tactical by Sam Altman and his supporters, because they have receipts and they're making them. It really kind of shows, that Elon is talking out of both sides of his mouth. I mean, he wanted it to be a for-profit company when he was in control, and then as soon as he lost control, he's been dinging them for trying to be for-profit. And so whoever's got the servers there at OpenAI, I mean, they've got these emails going back years, and they're just dribbling them out bit by bit. This is not the first time that we've seen emails come out, and it's just a reminder to all journalists that lawsuits are a gold mine, and you got to look at all the appendices, and you got to read all the emails. And old emails are just great. I love them. If you have any, send them to us.
Elon Inc. at Bloomberg.net. Just a reminder. It can also go the other way, right? You can sort of fight a lawsuit by issuing a press release or calling a press conference. You can also use a lawsuit to generate positive publicity. And I think all along, we have seen, as we've talked about this dispute, we have seen it as partly a way for Elon Musk to call attention to all the amazing work he is doing at xAI, his AI chatbot competitor, which is very importantly a competitor to OpenAI, to help attract employees. He is making a statement with this lawsuit as much as he is asking the court to stop OpenAI from turning into a not-for-profit, from turning into a for-profit.
Now, help us for a second there and remind us where exactly at this point we feel like xAI fits in the constellation of the Musk empire. It is perhaps the very newest of all his companies, but it seems like one that potentially has a rapidly growing valuation. Of course, all of Musk
probably the third most valuable company in the empire would
more
be my guess.
More valuable than boring?
You're not going to believe this, but the tunneling industry is not the growth industry that
I'm offended for the men and women of boring.
The chatbot.
Okay, so you have it third.
It feels unjust, but
Tesla, SpaceX, xAI.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's because they've created more value than,
to come?
But this is just how investors are valuing these things. I don't think it's unreasonable to think that valuation is in the tens of billions of dollars because look, they've built a credible chatbot. Now, I think you can quibble with Elon Musk, and I'm sure OpenAI would, about just like how much of OpenAI's business has he replicated, how much of OpenAI's customer base has he replicated, but he's built this valuable thing. He's also acquired a very large cluster of these GPUs, the chips that train AI algorithms. He's got, one of the players in this industry, and OpenAI is worth a lot of money. So even if it's not worth as much as OpenAI, it could easily be worth, something like $50 billion, at least as far as some investors are going to see it. And that is, interestingly, not only the third biggest and most valuable company in the Musk empire, but it would probably make it more valuable than good old X, Twitter, which he bought for $44 billion, but which has seen its valuation fall since then.
Yeah, and XAI, like they built this massive cluster. What are they calling it? Colossus. I forget the naming conventions but the data center that they've built with all these NVIDIA GPUs in Memphis is called Colossus. And if this is like a gold rush where basically whoever has the most chips or the most GPUs wins, I mean, Elon is in the game and Sam Altman is his biggest competitor in this race. If you look at the constellation of companies, SpaceX, so Tesla, SpaceX, XAI, then you've got, Neuralink, Boring, and X.
You've got X last and you've got Boring second to last. Just for the record, I just want to say it. I mean, to me, I value Boring as the most valuable of them all.
Can I just flag a couple of fun things from this trove of emails?
You have other things from the trove of emails.
Yes,
hit
us. One thing that comes across, well, first of all, there's a proposal to use crypto to fund OpenAI because they need all this money. And from the emails, you can conclude that Elon Musk does not see that as a very viable approach, which is kind of funny because he, in public, is the Doge father. He's always talking about how
What do you mean by use crypto to fund OpenAI?
Via an ICO, an initial coin offering. Remember, this is back...
You'd create a new coin.
Create a new coin. And Elon Musk, at least in private, very much saw it that way as something that would be gimmicky, unserious or whatever, and dissuaded or attempted to dissuade people.
That came out, that was from years ago.
It's just like in the back and forth, you see it.
Well, right now, with all the coins worth $1 zillion, that didn't...
Maybe it would have been the right move. Well, the other thing is, what you see in this back and forth, and I think this is going to be, like, this is a real problem, I think, for both these guys. Because, first of all, they're both making points that seem somewhat damaging to the other. And they both kind of come off as people who are talking a big game about the sort of higher purposes of what they're doing, but then behind the scenes are very concerned with money, which kind of undercuts the sense of a higher purpose. And I think it really shows a sort of political clumsiness. And it makes me wonder what is going to happen when this kind of thing happens in the Trump administration. Because you're going to have the same thing. You're going to have this like collision of higher goals. We're going to try to streamline government. Yeah. We're going to reach the stars or whatever. And then you're going to have the reality that Elon Musk is also very interested in getting paid. He is interested in control. He's interested in the normal things that business people are interested in. And I don't think he has that much experience kind of navigating this in public. And so I feel like this could be a preview of the awkwardness to come over the next, 4 years, potentially.
Yeah, indeed. So you see it as a bit of it's like potentially a lose-lose here for both Musk and Altman. And anyway, it looks like the next step in this case, if I'm not mistaken, is a hearing in January. And so it'll just keep coming up again and again.
They did manage to squash the beef once earlier this year. Who knows? Maybe they'll be able to work it out. And you saw Sam Altman make some kind of positive comments about Elon Musk. Elon Musk acknowledged those comments.
Wasn't there some kind of hug?
There was a hug,
which is all part of the reason why Altman is now tremendously sad about it.
They hugged it out, and then Musk refiled the lawsuit. So who knows? Maybe they'll be able to find their way, on the patio at Mar-a-Lago or something, and make the peace.
But any good feud, any truly, truly good feud, to be a top feud, it's got to be capable of overcoming a brief détente.
For me, it has to have the prospect of physical violence.
It's true. You're raising a point that we've drifted pretty far from the initial goal of it all, which was to get people in a cage
match.
And
now here we are.
Talks about cage match.
Speaking of cage match, can we talk about how Meta filed something where they're basically supporting Elon in his fight against OpenAI? Did you see that?
Missed this.
I did see that, and I think, it's sort of interesting because you have Mark Zuckerberg donating money to Trump. You have a actual potentially a détente between Zuckerberg and Elon. The original feud actually seems to be cooling a little bit. They're both sort of on Team Trump. They seem somewhat aligned on a number of issues, including the need to slow down the market leader in AI, with Zuckerberg, of course, has a big AI effort, and also around TikTok. Oh, actually, I'm wrong about that. Not around TikTok, because Zuckerberg would want to ban it, and Elon has said the opposite.
Bottom line is, if we get a cage match coming and Zuckerberg's in the ring and Musk is in the ring, they are tag team partners rather than grappling against one another.
The enemy of the enemy is my friend. Right. So Mark and Elon
so we got
aligned.
Zuckerberg and Musk now on one side. We just need two other people for them to wrestle with.
A tag team partner for Sam Altman.
Yeah. Someone preferably a little bit larger than Altman.
Listeners, Elon Inc. at Bloomberg.net. Send us your ideas, and we will consider them.
Who could be Sam Altman's tag team partner? Okay, we're now joined by Lauren Grush, who covers all things space for us here at Bloomberg. Hey, Lauren.
Hi, guys.
Okay, Lauren, real simple question to get us started here. Tell us, who is Jared Isacman?
Yeah, Jared has become something of a really interesting figure in both the space world and the SpaceX world. So prior to 2021, I had no idea who he was, and now I know him quite well, or at least know of him quite well. He's a billionaire. He's the founder of Shift4 Payments, which you might recognize when you're swiping your credit card at various restaurants or buying gifts. It's a payment liaison system. And when he took his company public, he became a billionaire and decided he wanted to invest in SpaceX. And so he called them up and he floated the idea of actually, flying on one of their rockets one day. And then that kind of snowballed. And all of a sudden he had booked an entire flight for him and 3 other people on a SpaceX Dragon and became the first to fly an all-civilian crew to orbit. And ever since then, he's become something of a central figure at SpaceX, where he kind of serves as this financial accelerator, if you will, because he funded this program called Polaris, which is a research and development program where they try to advance human spaceflight at SpaceX. And they flew the first of those missions this year, called Polaris Dawn. And you might have seen that he was the first to perform a commercial spacewalk in newly designed SpaceX spacesuit. So Jared's definitely become intimately involved with SpaceX in some very interesting ways.
How shocking was it for you when you saw Trump pick him to lead NASA going forward? I mean, from afar, I think the way it struck me and perhaps others is, man, this really feels like it's got Elon's fingerprints written all over it, this pick.
Oh, yeah. I definitely was a little surprised. I had heard of his name from an offhand source, was like, maybe him. And I was like, I don't think so, because of that research and development program I was telling you about, the Polaris program. It actually constitutes 3 flights. So the Polaris Dawn flight was just the first, and the third one is going to culminate with the first crewed flight of Starship. And from my understanding, Jared wants to be on those flights. I mean, he hasn't. I don't think they.
Oh, is that right? So the head of NASA is going to be going up into space? That's kind of cool.
I mean, we can get into that. He recently said that Polaris might be on a bit of a pause at the moment while we figure all this out. But I did wonder, could the NASA administrator go into space while he's leading?
Max, this is going to be a new precedent. If you're going to run NASA, you got to get up there yourself.
Objectively cool. I think we can all agree.
I don't think it's going to happen.
It would be even cooler if Trump himself would go up there too. But I think it's the next best thing. But I feel like, we've been talking about these kind of appointments that Elon Musk has had a hand in. And this one looks like you and Lauren are saying, an out of the box, Elon Musk, this is my guy. I mean, I looked, and I do think you can make a pretty an interesting case for his qualifications, right? He's not not conventionally qualified, but he does seem like he's qualified in other ways, right? As somebody who actually has had experience in business, who knows the private industry. Yeah. But it really does feel like a big point against him is he's hopelessly conflicted. I mean, he is pretty much an investor. Now, maybe not a profit-motivated investor, but an investor in SpaceX. I don't know how other companies it's gonna be very easy for them to argue that they're not going to get a fair shake.
So Lauren, do we factually know beyond putting up financing for that Polaris program, is he an equity investor in SpaceX? And if so, do we know if he plans to divest and get out of that position?
I asked and did not get a response. He's definitely invested his money into these programs. Whether or not he holds shares, I think, is still an open question. But presumably, if he did, we've had NASA administrators who've held stock before in contractors that NASA employs or, does business with, and they've had to divest those shares. So presumably, if he did have SpaceX shares, he would divest them. When it comes to the conflict of interest, that was kind of my biggest thought when I first heard it. I talked with Lori Garver, who was the former deputy administrator for NASA under Obama, and she talked about how they were very cognizant of trying to maintain a separation between the political side versus the contracting and the procurement side of things. She said that they went so far as to not even be briefed on decisions that were, being made about contracting, just to make sure that there wasn't even optically a thought that they were kind of putting their finger on the scale. Whether or not that is, an enforceable thing they can do, I don't know. But I think the question is fair. The perceived favoritism is what he's going to be up against when he takes the role.
But Lori Garver was kind of excited about him as the pick, right? Aren't people within commercial space super jazzed about Isacman being nominated? I mean, and is there any real opposition to him on Capitol Hill?
I should be clear. I think a lot of people are excited about him. He comes with a very commercial space friendly mindset. I don't think it's necessarily that he's going to be all in on SpaceX. I think what he likes is the way SpaceX operates and the fact that they move so quickly and that they try to be more efficient and cut costs and lower the price of getting to space. What he very much does not like is the slow, unmotivated contractors, these are, his opinions, that, rely on cost plus contracts, that don't seem to have much incentive to move quickly, are constantly delayed and late. And I should also say, SpaceX also is late, but comparatively, they do move more quickly than their rivals. And so he's very clear that he doesn't like this old way of doing business that NASA is very used to and very much embraces, the government getting more bang for its buck when it's working with these private companies. And I think a lot of people are really excited about that.
Lauren, in the piece you had on him the other day, which was quite good, you noted how he publicly, Isacman doesn't say all that much about Musk, but he has made, as you're alluding to here, comments about some of SpaceX's biggest rivals. He's had issues with some of the ways, Boeing's doing things and even Bezos's Blue Origin. But then he gave a quote the other day that I thought was really interesting about how he views competition and whether he will treat SpaceX favorably. And the quote was, "I don't want SpaceX to ever give up the edge. And the only way they're going to keep that edge sharp is by feeling like somebody is coming up right behind them." So he at least is saying here to us, hey, I'm going to try to keep all the biggest players in the game. Yeah?
And I think that's a noble sentiment that he expressed. But the problem is, I'm not sure it's really based in reality, in the sense that, yes, I think everybody wants there to be competition with SpaceX, real competition with SpaceX. The problem just is there's no one that's on their level right now. There just isn't. And maybe Blue Origin will catch up. Maybe ULA will get its act together and start launching more frequently. But the issue just is that there is no one comparable at the moment. And so if we are going to be redirecting resources to go with the more efficient company, I mean, it's safe to assume those contracts are going to go to SpaceX. So, I think It's nice to say that. And Gwynne Shotwell's actually asked this.
The head of SpaceX.
Yeah, sorry, president and CEO was asked, about competition. And she even openly admitted, she's like, I think it's going to be really hard to catch us on launch because they are just by far the most prolific launch provider right now. And developing rockets is really tough. And SpaceX kind of leads the charge. I mean, they could probably, undercut other people's prices at this point, making it, more desirable to go with them. So I think it's just going to be a really tough for someone to be a comparable competitor. You have others.
Very good, Lauren. Well, listen, assuming Mr. Isacman takes over there, you will be back on soon to let us know how that's going. And in the meantime, happy holidays to you.
Thank you. You as well.
Now, Dana, you snuck out on us this morning a fascinating little piece about a preschool that Elon is building. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I guess the big picture is, Elon Musk is a man of many interests. We focus here at Elon Inc. on his companies and his ascendant political empire, but he's also quite interested in education. In the early days of SpaceX, they had a kind of quasi-private school running within SpaceX called Ad Astra that his older children went to. When the pandemic happened, that school kind of wound down. But now that SpaceX is sort of building out its facilities in Texas and Elon has all of these companies in Bastrop outside of Austin, he is yet again building a Montessori-based preschool called Ad Astra. And it's pretty close to completion. I got some records from the Texas state agency that regulates childcare facilities. There's all this back and forth. They've got the permit. And it's not clear to me whether this school is open to the general public or whether it's primarily for the children of either Elon himself or his employees. It seems likely that it's his employees, but this is just a reminder that this guy has a lot of interests. Education is clearly one of them. And the other thing that is fascinating to me is that if you look at his political action committee, the vast majority of the money was donated by Elon himself, but it also got outside donations, including from Betsy DeVos, the former education secretary, and some of her relatives. And so there's some kind of Betsy DeVos, Elon Musk alignment around education.
Dana, remind me and the rest of the uninitiated out there, what makes a Montessori school, A, and B? Why the name Ad Astra?
So I'm personally a big fan of Montessori. My own kid went to a Montessori elementary school, and it's a philosophy named after Maria Montessori, the Italian kind of educator and innovator. And the big thing is multi-age classrooms. The idea is that children learn best from their peers, and the teachers, it's not like the teacher standing in front of the room lecturing. Like the kids, it's very play-based. The kids learn from each other. The teacher's there more as a guide, and it's all the rage. And Maria Montessori kind of developed this philosophy in the era between World War I and World War II in Italy, but now there are Montessori preschools all over the United States, hugely popular in the tech world. Larry Ellison basically has a Montessori preschool on the island of Lanai, and Elon has hired the same private educational company that helps to run Larry's preschool to help run his in Texas. Ad Astra means to the stars in Latin.
I have so many questions here. Okay, so Elon Musk, and Dana, correct me if I'm wrong, he's put a ton of money into the foundation that is building this thing, right? More than $100 million.
More than $100 million. Yeah, and he wants to build a university at some point, too. So,
okay, I'm just seeing a very large gap between the $100 million and the one teacher, one assistant teacher.
Maybe this is just step one.
Well, yeah, but my point is, this does not feel like the most serious effort. And I think that, of course, I think part of why this is happening is because Elon Musk, as Dana says, actually has real ideas here. He's done this once before. He definitely, we know from following him, has very strong ideas about the failings of, kind of like the modern education system or whatever. But also, he has this gigantic foundation that has to give away 5% of its money every year. And that amount of money has gone up quite a lot. So it's it seems like part of what's going on is there's an interest. The other part is he needs to do something with this money, which is just in Tesla stock that keeps appreciating. And it just doesn't seem they've thought that hard about this. If you're telling me he wants to remake the education system, and then also he's going for the number one fad in childhood education, doesn't it seem, I don't know, like, isn't he supposed to be like de-wokeifying the schools? I like reading Dana's story, I'm seeing a lot of play-based. I don't know, it sounds a little progressive to me.
So to David's point, I think the preschool is step one. Step two is he's going to build a university also in Texas, and we just haven't seen like exactly how that's going to take shape. But he's got two projects. There's the Musk Foundation, and the Musk Foundation has given money to the other project, which is called the Foundation, and the Foundation is all about schooling. He was going to do preschool through college, and I think this preschool in Bastrop is step one. There's also another Ad Astra that's being built near Brownsville. That also seems to be a daycare facility, maybe for SpaceX workers down there. And then, I think at some point we'll see a K-12 school take shape and then eventually a university. And all of this is happening in parallel with Musk's own children as they start to age. And then, a lot of people in Musk's orbit also have young kids. And
there are a lot of Musk children.
Yeah.
The Musk family alone, you could fill up Ad Astra easy just with the Musk kids.
You would need a pretty big building at this point.
Okay, well, very good. It's one to watch for us there, Dana. So, Max, we're gonna wrap ever so briefly here. We're gonna dig into the mailbag because we got another bumper sticker idea that we kind of thought was, at least I did. I don't know about you. I thought it was a winner.
I haven't seen this bumper sticker,
so this is going to be a revelation
being
for you.
Surprised.
Okay, so Melissa, a listener in Pennsylvania, wrote in to say that she has apparently created and put on her Model S a couple of stickers, and these are the two stickers. The first one is, I thought Nikola made it, which is pretty good. And then the second one, I don't know, by the way, on the bumper, I'm not exactly sure where each is going. It's not entirely clear to me. But the second one says, make this car not embarrassing again. So,
wow. I love it. Could be confusing to people who are aware that there's a company called Nikola that has had something of a bumpy road, but very, very clever. Nikola Tesla, of course, the person who Tesla is named after, but not, folks. Melissa, I'm sorry. Nikola Tesla did not design the Tesla.
She's going to be disappointed. Well, she apparently is disappointed and has been for a while.
But that's a great bumper sticker. But I got to say, make this car not embarrassing again. That's pretty clever. I feel I haven't seen that before. We've seen iterations on that, but the kind of use of the Trump slogan, that's, Melissa, I think you might be onto something.
She's onto something. I think that one could potentially take off. We are still waiting, by the way, for Elon Inc. bumper sticker ideas. In the meantime, as we wait for them, the placeholder one I've come up with, Max, for now, and this isn't quite it, but I think some iteration of this might be okay. We have to ruminate on this, is in support of the pod.
I feel like we need to get those printed, and then anyone who sends in a bumper sticker idea, we will send you a bumper sticker with our name on it to promote our podcast.
Right, but we got to keep working on that. That's going to come. Oh, and by the way, the other thing to send in, if you might be so kind, to Elon Inc. at Bloomberg.net is just more feud ideas.
I'm open to all feuds. Right. They can be having to do with Doge, they can have to do with companies, they can even have to do with Elon Musk and other fictional characters and fictional characters. I'll take it all.
And bumper stickers.
Yeah.
Max?
Elon Inc. at Bloomberg.net.
Got it. Excellent. Max, Dana, thanks as always.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
This episode was produced by Stacey Wong. Anna Masarakis is our editor, and Rayhan Harmansi is our senior editor. The idea for this very show also came from Rayhan. Blake Maples handles engineering, and Emma Sanchez fact-checks. Our supervising producer is Magnus Henriksen. The Elon Inc. theme is written and performed by Taka Yasuzawa and Alex Sugiura. Brendan Francis Newnham is our executive producer, and Sage Bauman is the head of Bloomberg Podcasts. A big thanks, as always, to our supporters Joel Weber and Brad Stone. I'm David Papadopoulos. If you have a minute, rate and review our show. It'll help other listeners find us. See you next week.